I just think that the mothers in the film are really sort of doing the best they can, you know what I mean? And I don't think that I personally don't think that they're in any way to blame for what happens. I mean, I think that that they are trying to take care of their kids in a hard world. It's a world of the world. Yeah, I mean, there is that sort of sense that things are not what they seem. You know, like there's the surface of what people are, and then there's the underneath. But I mean, I think that I mean that's one of the things about Mysterious Skin. I think that let's say I can't take credit for it because I didn't write the book, but Scott's done a great job in the sense that you know, it's like he's incorporated all of these things about America. You know what I mean? Like that the coach is like, you know, this little league baseball coach. And I don't know about here, but in America, little league is like sort of symbolic of the heartland, you know, of America. And just the way, I mean, the story is set in Kansas, which is the middle. You know, everything about it is sort of quintessentially kind of middle America. You know, it's not just like New York or L.A. It's very like about the center of America and the heartland. And you know, that this story happens in this setting, I think is really sort of brilliant of Scott, you know, because it kind of makes the story so much more, you know, the fact that it's this quintessentially kind of American setting, I think makes the story more resonant. I do feel very American, I think, in a way, but I think my definition of America is different than other people's, you know, and I think that to me is what is American about it, is that America is not just this one thing, you know what I mean? It's not just this, you know, sort of straight and narrow definition that a lot of people think American is. I mean, America is a really huge place with a huge number of viewpoints and sensibilities, and there's room for, you know, all kinds of different points of view. I'm so excited about Mysterious Skin, and one of the reasons is that I think it's such a perfect movie for me in a way, in that it's a really radical departure, I think, in the sense that it's the first time I've really done kind of a serious character-driven drama. Because most of my movies, like Doom Generation or Nowhere, have always had this sort of satirical kind of pop culture sort of edge to them, whereas this is much more sort of straightforward, like sincere drama. So it's a kind of big departure for me, but at the same time, like, as you say, it also is perfectly like my other movies. You know, it perfectly fits into the flow of my movies, and I think that's why the story. I've never encountered an outside story that I have loved so much that I wanted to make into a movie. Because I think Scott and we have very sort of similar sensibility. We're both very influenced by music, and we have a lot of the same sort of interests. And my films are always sort of about the outsiders, and Mysterious Skin is definitely a movie about outsiders. I mean, I really appreciate Larry's movies, the ones that I've seen, but I think our movies are really different in the sense that I've never really felt that my movies are as nihilistic as other people think they are. I know that some people do find them kind of nihilistic, but I've always thought of my movies as being much more like romantic and almost like a classical way. I mean, I think that they're always about these sort of characters, particularly the movies that have Jimmy in them, about this character sort of yearning for this kind of idealized love in this sort of, you know, hostile and chaotic kind of universe. And, you know, I mean, to me, that his character is much closer to, you know, the James Dean character in Rebel Without a Cause than he is to the Leo Fitzpatrick is that name? The kid from Kids, yeah, yeah, you know, who is on this sort of nihilistic thing of like, you know, having sex with as many kids as he can, you know, and he doesn't even realize that he's HIV positive. You know, it's just like like I think that in the spectrum, I think he's much closer to the more traditional sort of angsty romantic teenage anti-hero as opposed to, you know, the character in the Larry Clark movie. Making movies about teenagers is nothing new. Yeah, I mean, I actually, the beginning of the Teen Angst trilogy, the Teen Apocalypse trilogy, is totally fucked up, which is, you know, ripped off or homage or to Masculine and Feminine, which was, you know, not really about teenagers, but about young people in Paris in the 60s. So, you know, I mean, people have been making movies about young, angst-ridden, you know, I mean, Rebel Without a Cause. I mean, the genre has been ongoing since, you know, very early on.
Hey, ass face. What you gawking at? Maggie! Shit! Go, 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 go! Fuck
you! There is still a sort of MTV influence in the film in the sense that it's not as overt as Nowhere or Doom Generation with the checkerboard walls and all the, like, I mean, because both those movies are very sort of like pop culture and also very sort of hallucinogenic, you know, whereas this movie obviously is more natural, as of all my films, the most naturalistic film I've ever done. But I think a lot of it, the sort of MTV influence is still there in the sort of language of the film, in the way the shots are put together and the compositions. I mean, I think that it's just not as overt, you know. I mean, because I think that sort of visual culture of like MTV and just, you know, where we are today in terms of the internet and everything else, I think informs the film still, you know, even if it's more in a sort of counterpoint. Mysterious Skin's like my 8th movie now. And I've just, you know, I've been so lucky in my career, I think, and since I've only made movies that I really love and I really believe in, I really want to make, you know, and you know, I've just been, you know, sort of blessed to be able to make them all, you know. I mean, I have ideas for bigger movies. I mean, I have ideas for bigger movies and I have ideas for smaller movies, and you know, what's important to me is just that I'm able to keep making movies, you know what I mean? And I have ideas for things that are $50 million and ideas for, I mean, I would love, you know, having seen Totally Fucked Up again recently, when I was doing the video remastering, I would love to make another movie like that, you know, because I remember it sort of took me back to what it was like to make those movies, you know, and like how you sort of have nothing, you know, like no crew and nothing, and you sort of are able to sort of explore these ideas, you know, in a very sort of free way. So I would love to make like a really like tiny movie again, and also a big huge movie. So it's like I, you know, would just like to be able to continue to make movies.